Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are wrestling with what's probably the most persistent emotional challenge of our time. How do you find any genuine stability when everything outside of you just seems to be in constant flux?
That is the perfect way to frame it. We've got a great body of work here today, looking at the Stoic perspective, sometimes called Tukki in some traditions, but really tailored for right now.
Right.
Because it feels like everyone's looking for a manual on how to live well.
Yeah.
But we're all trying to read it while standing on what the research calls shifting ground.
And that's the thing that really gets you. The exhaustion we all feel today, it isn't always about the hours we work or the actual effort. It's that background noise.
Yeah.
That feeling that things are about to change drastically.
Exactly. It's what the text called the low hum of uncertainty. It's not some big headline crisis every day. It's this subtle feeling that no matter how good things are, you're just one algorithm change, one round of layoffs, one phone call away from everything tipping over.
It's behind the smiles, behind the normal conversations. I love that phrase from the source. It's so true.
It is, and it's exhausting us in ways that, physical labor never could.
Okay, so what's the core thesis we're pulling from these sources? What's the Stoic answer to this hum?
Well, the thesis is pretty radical, actually, because it flips our natural instinct completely on its head. Our gut reaction is to fight uncertainty, to plan it, control it, wrestle it to the ground.
Sure.
The Stoics argue that fight is exactly what's making us weaker. The real proposition is this: you don't find stability by trying to fix the world's unpredictability. You find it by accepting that life is unpredictable and then building something inside of you that can't be shaken. An inner fortress.
Okay, so let's really unpack this modern malady. Why are we all so tired? I mean, we're in the so-called 4.0 era, and the speed of change is just staggering.
It is. Uncertainty used to be like seasonal. You'd have a recession, a war, or something big. Now it knocks on the door every single day.
Every hour, sometimes.
Right. Markets could flip in an hour. Your career could be made obsolete by a new piece of tech in a season. Companies lay people off with an email. Our biology just hasn't caught up.
How so?
Well, our brains are hard programmed to seek safety, predictability, long-term security. But modern life provides basically a contractual guarantee of none of those things. The question is always asking is, if tomorrow looks nothing like today, can you handle it?
A question we hate. And because we hate it, we build these frantic defense mechanisms, detailed plans, 5-year goals, trying to control what other people do.
And one of the analyses argues that's completely futile. It just creates an illusion of control. And when that illusion shatters, because it always does, the panic is 10 times worse.
The more rigid your plan, the more you break when it fails.
Exactly. The more you try to control the outside world, the more fragile you become on the inside.
Which leads right into what one of the papers called the tiredness paradox. We're not just tired from what's actually happening.
No, we are exhausted primarily by our own imagination. Just think about it. How many hours do you spend worrying about a negative scenario that has maybe a 10% chance of ever happening?
Oh, countless.
We live as if those bad things have already happened hundreds of times right inside our own heads. All that over-analysis just burns through our energy and makes us rigid when a real challenge, which is often different than we imagine, finally arrives.
So the foundational Stoic insight here, and I think this is so crucial for you listening, is that the uncertainty itself isn't what's killing us.
It's the way we fight it that does the damage. We're doing it to ourselves.
Okay, so if fighting it is the problem, that's a huge pivot. We need to stop looking at the external chaos and start looking at our internal, our vulnerabilities.
That's the shift. We fear uncertainty, sure, but what we really fear is that it's going to expose our lack of preparation. We aren't afraid of the event. We're afraid of the version of ourselves that has to face it. The person we imagine is too fragile and unprepared.
To really get that, the documents break down 5 forms of uncertainty. Let's dig into the 3 deepest, most personal ones. First up, future uncertainty.
Yeah, this is the big one. Career, money, life direction.
Classics.
And the language they use to describe it is so vivid. It's like we're all standing outside a dark room just analyzing. Right. We're analyzing all the risks, calculating every bad outcome.
Paralyzed.
Totally paralyzed. And we refuse to just take the first step and walk through the door.
Yeah.
It's the inactivity, the endless analysis that kills all our momentum. You just can't navigate if you won't even move.
That connects right into the second type, which is relationship uncertainty. This is where we hang all our emotional safety on something we just can't control.
The feelings and decisions of other people.
Yeah.
And it creates this just heartbreaking paradox. The more you love someone, the more uncertainty you feel.
Because you're afraid of losing it.
You're loving through fear. Fear of loss, fear of being replaced, fear of not being good enough for them. It's so hard to accept that another person's mind is totally external to your control, even your partner.
Right.
So we spend all this energy trying to secure their commitment instead of just securing our own emotional ground.
And that brings us to the third and what the sources call the deepest cut, self-uncertainty.
This is that little voice, the internal dialogue of doubt that just never seems to go away.
Am I good enough? Am I living the right way?
All those unresolved questions. And that self-doubt, according to this research, it creates this subtle, unhealing cut that just bleeds into every part of your life. So when the external world shakes, you immediately look inward and think, this must be my fault. I failed.
And just for context, the other two they mention are world uncertainty. Feeling powerless about politics, the economy, and meaning uncertainty, which is losing your sense of purpose.
And both of those just pull out your internal anchor, so even small waves feel like a tsunami. But what's really fascinating is the conclusion here. Nobody finds out who they really are when the road is bright and the map is clear.
Right.
The biggest growth comes when you lose the map, when you're forced to rely on just sober daily observation, what they call acting in the dark. That's when you're forced to build self-reliance.
Okay, but I have to ask, for someone listening who's facing, real financial fear or a health crisis, doesn't acting in the dark sound a bit passive? A little like resignation? How do you turn this into action?
That is the perfect question. And it leads us right to the bedrock of this whole practice. They call it the Stoic compass, or the dichotomy of control.
The what?
It's simple, but it's monumentally difficult in practice. You just divide the entire world into two categories. Things you control and things you do not. Most of our suffering comes from spending all our energy on the second category, trying to, as they say, hold a handful of sand.
Okay, so let's list them. The uncontrollables, the sand. What's on that list?
So other people's thoughts, their feelings, their actions, your long-term health, the stock market, chance, luck, and this is the big one, the final outcome of your efforts.
You can do everything right and still fail.
You can do everything perfectly and still fail. That outcome is external.
And the controllable things, the rudder we can actually hold on to.
It's a much smaller list. Your words, your choices, your reactions in this moment, how you decide to face things, your effort today, your personal ethics. It's a small list, but its power is immense. It's the rudder of the whole ship.
That's such a critical distinction. It's not about ignoring the storm. It's about focusing all your energy on steering the rudder. You're building an internal guarantee.
Exactly. You're guaranteeing that you won't be crushed by the event, no matter the outcome. And the key training for this is to just slow down 1 second when something bad happens. That 1 second is everything. Because it creates the space to move from an instinctual reaction panic, anger, to a conscious, controlled response. It's the difference between reacting to a layoff with blame and immediately starting to polish your resume.
That sounds great in theory, but this 4.0 world we're in, it's all about instant reactions, right?
Yeah.
Constant comparison. If you don't actively build this inner strength, the world just defines you by fear.
It makes you a victim of circumstance forever, which is why we need practical strategies. The texts detail 4 of them for building this inner fortress.
Okay, let's get practical. What's number 1?
The first one is maybe the hardest for ambitious people. It's called the rule of nearness, basically. Focus on today. You have to stop trying to fix the future. It's too big, it's overwhelming. Instead, you just fix a small part of the present.
So what does that actually look like? We're all programmed to make these 5-year plans.
And that's what leads to paralysis. The rule of nearness says find one single task today that is in your control and just do it well. Could be cleaning your desk, writing that one email you've been avoiding, sticking to your morning routine.
That's small.
That's small, because completing it sends a signal to your brain. I can control my actions. Stability is built one managed moment at a time, not by perfectly mapping out the next 5 years.
I like that. Okay, what's the second strategy?
Solid habits. It's related. We're not looking for some big burst of inspiration. We need consistency.
Small, repetitive things.
Exactly. Almost boring things. Journaling. Taking 5 minutes at night to reflect on where you focus your energy. Keeping small promises to yourself. These acts build self-trust. One source called them the piles in the mud that hold up the whole structure. They're not exciting, but they're essential.
The third one is great. Endurance over inspiration. It just accepts that growth isn't a straight line.
Yeah, we live in a culture that worships the overnight success, right?
Yeah.
But real strength comes from showing up on the bad days. The person who is right 60% of the time over 3 months is so much stronger than the person who's perfect for 3 days and then burns out. Endurance is the game.
And the final strategy. This brings it all back to the self.
It does. It's choose a life direction, not a goal. Goals are external. Become a millionaire. That depends on the market, on luck. It's sand.
So what's a direction?
A direction is internal. You define who you want to be while you're facing uncertainty. So instead of become a millionaire, your direction is act with resilience, honesty, and kindness, no matter what happens with my money. That direction is your anchor. You can succeed at being that person every single day, even if the external goal fails.
Which brings us full circle. We can't get rid of uncertainty. It's always going to be there, like wind and rain trying to knock us over.
Always. And if you put this stuff into practice, what's the ultimate payoff? What's the promised land? It is not some place where you feel no anxiety or where bad things stop happening. That's a total fantasy.
The real promised land of Stoicism is, I think it's much more powerful.
It's a future where you know you have enough inner strength built through these small, controllable habits to stand firm even when life never, ever stands still. That's real safety. That's real freedom. It comes from knowing deep down.
No matter how the world turns, I can still stand.
Exactly. That can't be taken away from you.
Yeah.
Not by a layoff, not by a market crash, not by anything.
And that kind of freedom, it's not fast. It takes that light, steady, persistent discipline, planting those seeds every day. So we'll leave you with the challenge. If you decide to adopt this mindset to start this work, how quickly do you think you'll notice a real difference? In 30 days, 90, a full year? And more importantly, what is the first tiny controllable step, that one task under the rule of nearness that you will commit to today? That's where the work begins.